This is an allegory with Venus and Cupid, painted by Agnolo Bronzino around 1545. It's one of the most mystifying paintings in all of art history, puzzled over by generations of scholars. At the center you can see what appears to be Cupid, and next to him is his goddess mom, Venus. But if that's Venus and that's Cupid, why is she giving him the tongue? And what's with the woman with half a head at upper left and that weird kid who's all smiles even though his foot is getting stabbed by a heckin' ginormous thorn?
I mean, there's endless theories. It's about love and beauty and pleasure and what happens when you bring those things together. But what are also the more negative aspects associated with that?
Let's back up. In 1539, Bronzino received the appointment of a lifetime, becoming court painter to Cosimo de' Medici, the Duke of Renaissance Florence. In this capacity, Bronzino was responsible for painting portraits of members of the Duke's family and court, which sometimes called for the use of allegory. An allegory is a story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning. And it was a way for artists to slip politically incorrect ideas, witticisms, or their own obscure and idiosyncratic beliefs about life, art, etc. into their paintings. Allegory was also a great way to make an artwork intellectually richer than it appeared at first glance, something that was especially important when your painting was being given to a king.
The picture has been identified by the famous artist biographer Giorgio Vasari as the painting that was given by Cosimo de' Medici, the Duke of Tuscany, to the King of France, Francis I. If you just give him a picture of the Virgin and Child, he wouldn't have much to think about. But giving something that is complex, allegorical, could be interpreted in many different ways, you have something that is actually interesting and that doesn't stop being interesting.
There's just one little problem. Allegories can be an enormous headache for contemporary scholars. Many scholars begin their interpretation of an allegory of Venus and Cupid by attempting to nail down the identity and significance of each of the figures. We know Venus and Cupid represent beauty and love, that much is agreed on. Beauty disarms love, but love is trying to steal her crown. And of course... Though to be fair, classical mythology didn't always think of Venus and Cupid as related, so maybe not incest. While the identity of the primary figures is clear, the secondary ones are harder to pin down. On the right, the happy little boy, or Puto, announces his arrival with bells on one of his ankles. This figure is commonly interpreted to represent pleasure, but he might also be folly, since in morality plays pleasure is followed by pain, which explains the thorn, as well as the honeycomb that the sweet-looking girl behind the Puto is offering to Venus and Cupid. The honeycomb references a myth in which Cupid was stung by a bee, and in case viewers don't know their mythology, Bronzino drives the point home by giving this girl a reptile's body, with a vicious sting at the end of her tail. As to this girl's identity, she could be fraud, but scholars have also interpreted her as pleasure, which, as we know, ends in pain. Of all the figures in the painting, she alone is looking at us, the viewers, as if to imply that we, too, should be careful about falling in love. Now let's turn to the old man at the top of the composition, who holds a cloth framing the scene in the foreground. We can tell from his hourglass that this figure represents time. He's looking at a woman who, creepily, seems to be missing the back of her head. People during the Renaissance believed that that's where memory came from, hence why some interpret her as Oblivion. Time may be prompting Oblivion, who also holds the cloth, to remember the truth and reveal the troubled nature of romantic love. This figure could also herself be truth, conspiring with time to veil love's iniquities. Right below Oblivion, a creature tearing at its own hair and screaming could be envy, jealousy, or maybe suffering or desperation. From debating an allegory of Venus and Cupid's cast of characters, scholars usually proceed to consider its overall subject. The famous iconographer Erwin Panofsky interpreted the painting's theme as being didactic, showing the pleasures as futile and fallacious advantages, with the dangers and tortures shown as great and real evils. Other theories for the subject include the triumph of Venus, the incompletely reciprocated love of a man for a woman, or perhaps love versus time, My personal favorite theory takes its cue from the hair render at left. You see, this figure might not be suffering or jealousy at all. It might be syphilis. The venereal disease had first cropped up in Europe during the siege of Naples in 1495 and was viewed as a new plague. It was intimately associated with what people called the act of Venus, or
sexual relations.
If you interpret this figure as syphilis, suddenly the whole painting seems to come into focus. That kid stepping on a thorn, is he all smiles because he has nerve damage from the disease? Is she missing half her head because of the madness that results from it? In short, is this complicated and captivating painting nothing other than a 16th century syphilis PSA?
Whoa, slow down, egghead.
Italians at the time called this disease the French disease. It would be a very strange thing to do, to give a picture to the King of France, which is mocking a disease that they call the French disease.
That doesn't mean that the syphilis theory is wrong. But you could say that such overdetermined explanations miss the point of an allegory with Venus and Cupid. Bronzino is usually identified as a Mannerist, a style in art that followed the High Renaissance and preceded the Baroque. While High Renaissance artists like Da Vinci and Raphael were interested in classical ideas of balance and realism, Mannerists were all about destabilizing, about irony, playfulness, and humor.
I think he was more interested in showing what he could do and how different he could be and how intellectually engaging he could be, while at the same time presenting something that's entirely pleasurable and fun to look at.
Whether Venus is winning or time is, whether Bronzino is warning us about syphilis, the fact that we can see all that in one canvas is what makes an allegory of Venus and Cupid the masterpiece that it is, inviting interpretation, but deferring a single finalizing answer.
I guess that's your theory.